Should be recording.
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay, cool. All right, you guys. So this is the first webinar of many where we talk about wellness and nutrition and mental health. I'm pretty sure other people, I see there's some people on live joining in. Welcome if you are joining in. So we are going to get into it. Ooh, this troubleshooting, child.
It's a process.
For real. That's why I was like, this is going to be for friends and family first. Start figuring it out. Okay, for those who don't know me, my name is Liz Mayombo. I'm a holistic African wellness coach who is a clinical nutrition specialist. I specialize in female hormone, gut health, diabetes, hormones in general, heart health, anything that deals with chronic disease. But a lot of what I do is around female hormones. What did I have? I'm the founder of Zilly Wellness, the first African wellness digital platform that incorporates both conventional and holistic alternative care to help our clients reach their goals. Yes to us. Hi, life changer who joined in. So while we offer online courses, wellness program, virtual consultation, and catering services. So what are we going to talk about today? Okay, today we're going to talk about the basics. So if you've never had a nutrition class in your life, what is my life doing that? Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining. So what are we going to talk about today? If you've never had a nutrition class in your life, we're going to break down the big concept, right? So we're going to talk about what nutrition is, what are the different, how is nutrition classified, how it affects your body. That's a lot of people may know about food, but they don't really know how it interacts with your body. So we're going to cover that real quickly. And then we're going to close off with what is energy, why we eat, and then why that's important. All right. So the first slide is what is nutrition? Nutrition is a study of how foods interact with our bodies. That's literally what nutrition is. So when you think about what you eat, once it gets into your body, what that food does to your body, that is what nutrition is. And today we're going to break down the big concept. Lola, you are right now the only one who can speak. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm yours.
I definitely will. Yes, I will definitely ask if any questions come up. Yep.
Everybody else is on live. Sure. Okay. Okay. So if you are, so the way I want to go about these webinars, it's like I want to get people to start thinking like nutritionists and not necessarily fully to the extent that a nutrition would. I don't expect people to come out with these webinars like healing other people or, that takes more than just knowing the book stuff. It takes working with actual people, but understanding what they're putting into their bodies and understanding what that effect has. And the reason for that is nutrition is so confusing, okay? If you don't have the basics and Google stuff, you have one article that says one thing, you have one article that says another thing. It's very, very confusing. And so a lot of people are just used to just getting on board with different fad diets, right? And we want to break that down today. So the first thing you need to know is when you are going to nutritionists, they're going to let you know that food is broken down into two categories. You have micronutrients and you have macronutrients. So let's get into these categories. The micronutrients, they really started becoming popular because of the bodybuilding world, right? People who are trying to build muscle. Right. And we'll cover that, why that's important. But the micronutrients, really nutrition, what they mean. Micro, I think it's a Latin word that means large quantities. Okay. So these are the type of food we need in large quantities because they can help make energy. That's basically what it is. And they're broken down into three. So you have carbohydrates, you have fats, and you have protein. So somebody jump in. Yes, girl. You could just unmute and do it.
Yes. So you mentioned that the macronutrients became popular because people are talking about like bodybuilding and building muscle, and a lot of people talk about
Mhm.
protein. Is protein as important? Is it as important as people make it seem to build the muscle?
It is, and we're gonna break that down a little further down, but it is very important. So, okay, the for the details of each macronutrient is later down during the course. But for this, the one thing that I want people to take out of it is that the micronutrients means that your body can make energy out of it. So, carbohydrates, um, fats, and protein. The one thing that I will say is that what tends to confuse people is that all the foods that you eat have a portion of carbs, fats, and protein. As nutritionists, we classify different food based on the amount. So, for instance, something that is called a protein has more protein component than carbs and fats. Something that is called a carb has more carb component than fats and protein. Okay. And then I'm going to answer your question in a few slides down. I'm like, I didn't want to spoil it right now. Okay. So you have the micronutrients, then you have the micronutrients. These are like, I love micronutrients because, okay, micro is a Latin word, like I said, that's in smaller quantities. That's what it means. So your body only needs a little bit of it to do the work. And I love them because in nature, micronutrients are the medicine of nature. So you have vitamins, you have minerals, you have phytonutrients. Unfortunately, we can't get into details with those in this course, in this webinar today, but that's definitely something I want to cover. So these are the two types of classification that we have in nutrition, micro and macro. Micro, just remember that they have the ability to give your body energy. Micro, they're like the medicine of the earth. Anybody have another question? I have to jump and make sure that I don't miss people in the live. Did you have other questions about those before I move forward, Lola?
No, that's very clear.
Okay. Why do we eat? That is so important. And I know that a lot of people, well, let me get into the slide. Okay, so some of the stuff that people already know is we eat to live, but what does that really mean, right? We're going to cover that in this webinar. We eat to provide our body with energy. What does that really mean, right? What is energy, right? So we already covered the micronutrients. That's their job. They provide our body energy. But what does that really mean? We eat to supply our bodies with the raw material it needs to survive. That's another thing. Like people hear these concepts, do they really have a grasp of what it means to them and how they can use that to better feed themselves? Any questions? Just getting a little dark. All right. All right. So the first thing is we eat to feed ourselves. So let's go back to high school biology, right? So all of our body is made up of these amazing organism that is called a cell. It is the smallest living organism in the world. And everything that you see has some type of cells. So your hair has cells, your skin, your nails, all of these. If you were to look in a microscope, you will see very, very tiny cells moving around, right? Okay, the food we eat, okay, because when we eat a plate of rice, right, once we eat it, it's broken down to its smallest unit, to feed the cell. So I want to go back to the first slide that I said we eat to live, right? But really, what is that? We eat to feed the cells, because without the fuel that the cell needs, they can't do the job. They can do their job. We can't survive. And then once you digest these foods, we talked about the micronutrients. So that's what I'm going to cover in this webinar. The smallest unit for each carbohydrate is glucose, fats is fatty acid, and protein is amino acid. Now, have any of you guys heard? Oh, thank you for the support, y'all. Have any of you guys heard of those? I know glucose is pretty popular. I don't know if you heard of that, Lola. You're into wellness. I'm pretty sure you probably heard somewhere.
Yep, I've heard of
Glucose, fatty acids, amino acids. Okay. So all we need to take away from this slide is that when we eat, the food that we eat is broken down to the smallest unit in order to feed your cell. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one, I mean, not the second one. This is still part about feeding the cells, right? But what people don't know is that different body system need different type of fuel. Okay, so what I mean by that, they need different type of energy. So we talked about the micronutrients are the only ones that can provide energy to our body. You can't get energy from vitamins. Although vitamins are important in the biochemistry aspect of making energy, right? So you have like these little workers that break down your food and that allows your digestive system to extract that food. These little workers need vitamins to survive, right? But vitamins don't actually get broken down into energy, right? Why do we need that? Why do we need that to live? We have all these systems, right? So the circulatory system, for instance, that's your blood. Your blood, the red blood cells, in order for them to carry, let me talk about what circulatory system does. Let me start that. So the circulatory system, right? What your blood do is literally carries energy, carries nutrients, carries when you take medication, when you take herbs, it carries all of that to the rest of your body. And the way that it does that is so beautiful is through the heart right here, right? So the heart is like a big pump that pumps the blood throughout your body. And the role of the circulatory system is to carry all of the stuff that you consume, the medication, and all of that to the rest of your body. Right. These cells, right, which are they're right here. These red blood cells, they also need energy to do that, to carry stuff around, right? What do they use? They use glucose. Glucose is part of carbohydrate, right? The digestive system, same thing, right? It's a system. The main function of the digestive system is to break down the food that you eat and allow your body to absorb them. It's a huge tube that starts from your mouth and ends in your anus. Different part of the digestive system have different needs nutritionally. That's something that I'm going to cover later on in these webinars. But the digestive system also needs nutrients, right? Specifically protein to heal itself and stuff like that. The endocrine system, that's your hormone system. That is how your body speaks, different part of your body speaks to each other, right? As a female, we all know when we're different phases into our cycle, we have different hormones that have different effects on our body. So if you're on your phase where you have estrogen going up, right? You have your body glowing, your skin is glowing, right? Your body is ready to get fertilized. So the endocrine system,
not fertilized. Not fertilized.
Your body is ready for it. I hope you guys can see on IG Live. The endocrine system, right? One major thing. So your hormones are made of two things, protein and fats. But one major thing, especially for women's health, is that fat portion. The fat is actually cholesterol. All of these hormones are actually come from cholesterol. So when they go and tell you don't eat fat in your regimen, that can affect your hormones. All right. I'm gonna speed through this because all right. Let me go through it. So the next one is the integumentary system. You guys know I have an accent. I can't really say that. It's basically your skin. Your skin also needs those micronutrients, right? Most of these systems are going to get their energy from glucose, which is carbohydrate, right? Um, but they also need all the other micronutrients, such as fat, right? Your skin needs a lot of fat, it needs a lot of protein. The fat is going to lubricate. So if you see someone who's been taking fish oil or omega-3, which is a type of fat that's very anti-inflammatory for a long time, you can tell by the way their skin looks. It glows. Okay, so you want to add those type of fats into your regimen. The lymphatic and immune cells, right? They also feed off of glucose. Right? So the main portion of this slide that I want to leave you guys with is a lot of the body uses glucose, uses carbohydrate for energy. So sometimes I cringe when I hear low carbs diet because a lot of your body use that energy in order to survive, right? But it depends on how your body responds to it, and we'll get to it in a little bit. So I'm not going to get to all of these systems, but the whole concept is your body needs energy, and it needs energy because all of these systems are made up of the cell, and the cell is what carries out all of these functions to keep you healthy. Let me sure. Do you guys have any questions over here? I think I'm gonna have to need some light. You'll give me 1 second.
Okay.
Thank you, IG Live people, for jumping on board. We're testing out the seminar business, webinar, I should say. Okay. Any question? Do you have any question?
Oh no, I was just saying that I think the like you mentioned, like the no carb, low carb, it seems somewhat unsustainable.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And that's one of the things that we will get to towards the end of this. But you brought up protein. So I'm going to break down like the main function of each of these micronutrients. But the major thing that I wanted people to take out of this is that in nutrition, in order to help us simplify things, we break down foods into two big chunks. So the macros and the micros. And then once you understand that, you dwell a little bit into the function and what they do. So the major thing that I wanted to cover in this webinar is, of course, why we need to eat. So we talked about the first one, right? To live. And to live, it's because we are feeding our cells. And our cells are these small workers that basically do everything in our body. We cannot survive if they don't survive. And then hopefully later on in later webinars, I can go into different systems and exactly what the different system needs to stay with optimal health. But the second part is energy, right? Energy is also similarly to like feeding the cells. They need energy. It's their fuel. It's their food, right? Without energy, they can't do anything. Without energy, I cannot move my hand. But the thing is, energy is it's a hard concept to grasp for anybody, right? So I'm going to attempt to break that down for you guys here. But if you have any questions, even if you're online and you have any questions, let me know, okay? So if you go back to physics class, you know that energy, they talked about energy, provides the ability to do work. So in the terms of the body, you need energy from your hands, you need energy to talk, you need energy to breathe, stuff that happens in our body subconsciously, like our heart beating, our lungs getting oxygen. You need energy to do that. When you don't have that, you literally die. Okay. So it's that crucial, it's that important. And once the cell absorbs the fuel that you provided with the foods that you eat, you have a little organelle that's called the mitochondria. Big thing right now because a lot of people, I mean, not right now. This has been discovered a few years back, but it's coming back up. A lot of people have had the correlation between mitochondria and cancer. right? So if you guys have time after this webinar, you can Google the amount of stuff that comes about with the mitochondria and the connection with an overworking mitochondria, overfeeding the cell, eating way too much that we need, right? And cancer. All right, maybe I'll do a webinar on that. But one cool thing that I remember from physics is that energy cannot be destroyed, but it can be transferred. And I thought that was so cool because in my mind, I thought like this is basically what the definition of God is, right? And I don't want to get this deep, but you guys know me. Like I'm always thinking that way. It's like it's energy can be transferred, it can move around in a different realm, right? But it cannot be destroyed. So the amount of energy that the world has, which is beautiful to think about, never changes. It just never diminish, I should say. It just changes. Okay. So when we're talking about food, and this is how we are connected to everything in this world, because energy cannot be destroyed, but it can move from different things to the next, right? And there are experiments of people who have done, I don't know if you guys have heard, there was an experiment where they were like literally talking to water, and then they kind of analyzed okay, so they had two different cups of water, I believe. In one, they put like the word hate on it, and another one, they put the word love. And then they analyzed the molecules of these water, and the two waters had different molecules because there was different type of energy that they were absorbing. Right. So that's the beauty to me about. I have a question.
No, I was saying that study is so powerful. I've heard of
Yeah.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you guys have time, like after this webinar, look it up. There are beautiful studies that talk about this thing about energy. And to me, that's the beauty about studying the human body and nutrition, is that everything that we consume really comes from the earth and everything is recycled. And so the stuff that you put in your body does have an impact, just like that study that I just talked about, right? If you put something that breathes life, your body is going to respond to it. If you put something that breathes death, the body is going to respond to it. Another thing that's beautiful is those molecules of water. They're the same cells that we have in our body. So they're literally miniature version of human beings that have their whole universe working to help us survive. Okay, let me not deviate too much. But when we're talking about food, the energy of the food, when it's in the food form, before you eat it, that energy is called calories, right? That's the simplest way that I can put it for people to understand. But it's the energy of food. Once you consume calories and it goes into your body changes it into an energy that the cell can use, and that energy is called ATP. Okay, so that's what energy is. Any question?
Well, you're probably gonna answer it right now. What ATP stands for?
Adenosine triphosphate.
Oh my goodness.
Right. It is a very scientific word, but yeah, ATP is it's just like the currency of our body, right? Before our cells can do anything, they have to create ATP, and then they can do whatever they need to do for your heart to pump, for your brain to operate, for neurons to communicate. But yeah. So, all right, let's get back to the slide. The best energy source, okay? All right, so I'm going to break down a little bit because that's something that I found in nutrition to be very confusing, right? So let me read the slide. Most of our system use glucose, which is the smallest unit of carbohydrate, as the predominant source of energy. However, some system, so when I'm talking about system, I'm talking about what we covered before, like your brain, your heart. These are all systems that work together in your body in order to survive. So, however, some systems prefer other macros such as the heart over carbohydrates. So the heart actually prefers fats. So this is why I was saying when I was covering that previous slide that it's very hard for me to look at fat diets when people eliminate certain things because different system in your body needs different things. Your heart works more optimally with fat. The interesting thing, though, is that most cardiovascular diseases are due because of fat buildup, right? So there's a specific type of fat that your heart needs in order to operate optimally. So that's one thing to note, right? Because I found in the human body, usually the thing that makes the system operate optimally, if it's overconsumed or if it's wrongly used, that's also the thing that destroys it. Okay. And that can apply to life in general, right? Anything in moderation. But the goal for me putting that slide up is because there's a lot of fat diets out there that promote one micronutrients over the other. Now, when we're talking about bodybuilding, I know you asked that, Lola, in terms of like, is protein important in building muscle? It is very important. But if you tell a bodybuilder, hey, we're only going to put you on a protein diet, if they're an experienced bodybuilder, they're going to know no. Why? Because your muscle they feed off of glucose, right? That's a system that feeds off of glucose. So it's going to be very hard for you to to build up your muscle with only protein. What protein does is protein is kind of like, okay, I think it's enough. Let me see the next slide. It's not in this side, but let me just say this. Protein is kind of like the repair system. So how you build muscle is you go to the gym, you work out, you lift weight, and you create little tears into your muscle. And as these muscle recover, they get stronger. And there's a lot of like weird things like that happens in the world. Like, why do we have to suffer in order to get more muscle? Like, why? Like, why can things just go smoothly, you know? Um, but
That's interesting.
right, like everything, even if you look at herbs, right, the most powerful or healing herbs are very bitter. They're not sweet tasting. That's just
Mm,
I just be thinking about life when I study this stuff because I'm just like, why does everything has to be so do you have to suffer to get things going, right? So in terms of the
that's real.
protein, yeah, in terms of the protein comes after the workout. Like when you're recovering, those tears that you made in your muscle, use protein, build themselves back up. And that's how you get stronger. So like you lift weight, to lift the weight, you need glucose, so you need carbs. That's why you can't tell a bodybuilder to only eat proteins, right? So, like to make sure your exercise is adequate to create more muscle, you need carbs. But then in the recovery process, to build the muscle, you need protein. Hi everybody that joined on live. I don't know what. Did you see the live? I don't know why there's like a Thursday on there.
Oh yes, there's a. I don't. Oh, I thought you put that there on purpose. Yeah, there's a Thursday.
I'm like, what? Girl, we testing this out.
That's okay. It's
No,
troubleshooting.
we are. All right. So this is the last slide on energy usage in the body. Okay. So we talked about glucose, right? So this is the part where I think a lot of people get confused, right? So we talked about glucose. So your body, like most of the system that I called out, except maybe for the heart, love to use glucose as their source of energy. So in order for the miniature cells that live in the liver, that lives in the lungs, in order for them to make sure that the lungs are working or the liver is working, they need glucose. That's how they operate. Okay. So because of that, your body knows that glucose is like the precursor of ATP, which is like the money that the body uses. It keeps a level of glucose in the blood in general, a certain level. That's important because when we get to people who have diabetes or who have issues regulating their blood sugar, when you go to the doctors and you hear blood sugar, that's basically your glucose levels, right? These are people who have their body is so dysregulated that they have too much sugar in their blood. They have too much glucose in their blood. And too much glucose in the blood is actually acidic. Okay, so people who have PCOS like me, when you get to a level where you haven't been able to follow the right diet and to control your glucose and you get to pre-diabetes, you want to be careful because what that causes, glucose becomes like an acid in your blood and it starts eating out your arteries, right? And it starts clogging out your arteries, and that can also go towards heart attack. I believe that the number one killer of diabetes is actually heart attack because the glucose in the blood is starting to erode those tubes. Okay. So let's get back to the slide. So the body keeps some type of sugar level in your blood, right? Just enough. When you're feeling hungry, what happens is there isn't enough sugar level in your blood, right? So there are a few things that can happen based on that. The first one is you can replenish it by eating. Okay. So when you're feeling hungry, your blood is going to communicate to your brain, hey, we don't have enough glucose, don't want the cells to not have enough energy to do their job. Can you make this person go and get some food? That's how you get hungry. Another way is if you don't have food next to you, right? If you do an intermittent fasting or if you do any type of fasting, if it's spiritual or whatnot, what the body is going to do is going to replenish itself via glucose storage. So when we eat glucose, when we eat carbohydrate, there's a part of it that stores it in your liver and it also stores it in your muscle. Okay, so that's the other thing. And the glucose storage lasts for 12 hours. Or what it can also do is use another source of energy by burning fat. Where does the fat come from? Your body. Okay, this is the process of losing weight. This is
This is
how
what everybody
people
want to
lose
talk
weight.
about.
Huh?
This is what everybody want to talk about now.
Right. This is what everybody want to talk about. This is the process of losing weight. Okay, so have any questions? I hope that was clear.
No, that was actually super clear. You broke down something that seems really kind of deeply scientific into very understandable terms.
Yes, and one thing that I want to say, we go back to the slide, is in essence, when your body store fat, so what is store fat, right? It's you are eating more energy than you need, right? There's enough glucose already in your blood. There's enough in the storage department, which is your liver and your muscles. So whatever is left over, your fat cells are going to keep them. And they usually do that. They're usually very stingy about letting go of that energy because the way in which your body thinks is let's keep this just in case there's a famine, just in case there's such and such. So in the world that we live in where we don't necessarily have famine, most of us don't. As a matter of fact, we have an overconsumption issue. um it people struggle with losing weight because your body doesn't want to give away what it has in the bank, okay? Because the body understands that energy is very important. If your cells don't get the energy, they're going to die, and they rather store as much as possible or as tightly as possible what they have in their reserve. That is why losing weight is so hard, okay? Even if you're someone who has had the ability to do so, I have never heard of anybody said, "Oh, I lost weight and it was super easy." It isn't because you're going against biology, literally. You're going against what your body storing fat for, why your body's storing fat for. Okay. For those on the live, I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know where this Thursday came from. But I hope you guys can follow through. Okay, this is the last section, and we're gonna close this off. Um, so I want to end this by saying the last part when we're talking about why we eat was because all of the raw materials that we have on our body comes from food. That is not like a poetic thing that people say. That is not to look to sound cool. It's literally why you eat. Like it's literally true. Your body is like a machine. So you want to think about a car, right? A car is a piece of metal. I don't know much about cars, but I like using that analogy. It's a piece of metal that you get all the raw materials from the earth. right? And then within the car, you have different systems that operate together in order to allow you to get to your destination. That is the exact same thing that the body does, right? Everything that you see on your body, your hair, your nails, your teeth, right? Teeth are minerals, the micronutrients that we talked about. These are calcified minerals, calcium, right? All of this comes from the food that you eat. Okay. So I want to end with this. The micronutrients we talked about, they're called macro because you need them in big quantities because you need to feed your cells because they provide energy. But they also have other functions that we talked about, right? So carbohydrate, the main function is energy because like we said, when you break down carbohydrate into the smallest unit to feed the cell, it becomes glucose. And that's the preferred source of energy that the body uses to operate optimally. It has other function, right? But the main function is for energy. And then you have fats. Fats can also be used to make energy, right? But also has other function. It's not the body's preferred source, but if needed, the body can turn the fat that you consume into energy. Most likely it gets stored, most likely, unless you are in a keto diet. But most likely it's going to get stored. Other function of fat, however, is it helps with hormones. It's a natural lubricant, like we talked about, omega 3s, some of my favorite fats. Um, they're going to help to lubricate your skin, hair. They also play a role in anti-inflammation. Super important anti-inflammation. Matter of fact, there are studies that show that people who have cardiovascular disease, and if you look at the literature, cardiovascular disease is related with an imbalance of fat. But the right type of fat has shown to decrease that. And the right type of fats are the omega 3s. Okay. And these are things that we're going to cover later on because it's also what type of food has omega 3s and what type of supplements are important, right? Later on in these seminars. And then lastly, protein. We talked a little bit about that, how it helps to build things. For instance, your muscle, your hair is pro. Well, this is not protein, yo. This I bought it from the store.
You're silly.
I bought this
She said she bought it from the store. You're
But
so silly.
yo,
I have a question though before you get into these proteins that you bought from the store.
go ahead.
You said the you said the fish or the omega-3 fatty acids.
Yes.
So if someone wanted to add a supplement to their diet,
Mhm.
say that they have like a nutrient dense diet,
Mhm.
their diet is really vibrant, it's nutrient dense, but they said they were going to get a supplement such as omega-3 fatty
Mhm.
acid supplement, or would they get like a fish oil supplement, or is that the same? Will it do the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, fish oil, like part of the supplementation of fish oil is both omega 3s and vitamin D. Are you asking which supplement is best
Yes, between those two options.
between the fish oil and the supplement?
Like the between like a supplement that is called fish oil tablets.
Oh,
I
the
guess it would be
tablets
called
and the
fish oil.
actual. You know what? It's gonna depend on the manufacturer, to be honest. There is one that I use. I can't run right now, but when I find it, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But it's gonna depend on the manufacturer. You can also get the same amount from actually eating a fish that are having these omega 3s. And when I'll cover omega 3s, I'll talk about what fish are good for that. Everybody know, for instance, salmon is a great fish for that. If you're a vegan, there's flaxseed as well. But one thing you have to think about is a lot of these supplements are absorbed easier when they come from animal. So for someone who is vegan, if you have an issue or if you have a condition that requires omega 3, for instance, cardiovascular, I would recommend that you get your supplement from a fish based product because your body just absorb it better. That's another lecture that I can talk about why certain supplements will absorb better when it comes from animal sources. But if you don't have a condition and you just want to use the oil to like have a more glowy skin, have a more glowing nails, hair, whatnot, flaxseed also does the job. Um,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. So yeah, for your question, it really depends on the manufacturer. That's something I won't cover vitamins in general because someone asked me a question like, are vitamins important? And I want to cover that. But within that, I'm gonna cover how you can tell that the manufacturer of your supplement is efficient. There's actually resources that you can use that nutritionists use in order to make sure that the supplement says what it does. A key that I can give you guys is in the United States, it's very hard to know that your supplement actually says what it does because these companies can get away from with the FDA by saying that, oh, well, the plant is known for doing that. But there's nothing that actually tests the plant or the supplement to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do. Whereas if you buy your supplements from European sources, which is usually why I buy my supplements for, they actually are regulated and they are sold like medication. Luckily, we have the internet, so you can go on the internet and get your supplements from Europe without all the regulation. But if you were to live like if you're in London, well, I don't know about London, but if you're in France, you can't just get vitamin D and vitamin B12 off the shelf because these are regulated. And usually these have more potent effects on your body than the ones that are sold here because they basically don't have any regulation. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's free game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? I'm gonna cover that because that is crazy. A lot of people are consuming things off of Amazon, okay, allegedly.
Yeah. And not know the quality.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's real.
and the quality is not what it does not does what it's supposed to because it's not really regulated. For the FDA, as long as you can say, as long as you can word it in a certain way that it's like it has benefit. The main thing that the FDA bans is you can't say that it heals anything. And if you look at most of your supplements, it never says this is known to heal cardiac or, this is known to cure. It can't say that. But it can say it helps lower blood pressure. It helps, and it's not regulated. So one thing to get your supplements from Europe, y'all. Germany is the best source, but anywhere in Europe is well regulated. Okay, and then lastly, we have the micronutrients, which I didn't cover, but I will eventually. That includes your vitamins, your minerals, and your phytonutrients. And the way in which I think of micronutrients is they are like I said, the medicine of the earth, right? The vitamins, they're going to help a lot of the natural processes in your body, right? They're going to help the protein that helps to make ATP or energy, right? The minerals, they're going to help move fluid, right? There are minerals like your bones are made of minerals, your teeth are made of minerals. And then the phytonutrients, they're not necessarily essential, which is another word in nutrition. When you say that a nutrient is essential, that means your body needs it to survive. Phytonutrients are not essential, but they're your medicine. They're what you find in the herbs when you're feeling a certain type of way. When you have an upset stomach and you take some ginger tea, or when you can't go to sleep and you need to balance your neurotransmitters, so you take some uh oh, I had it just in my head right now, but chamomile will do. When you take like an herb that helps to balance that. I have to remember that herb. I literally had it in my head before I say this, but I'm gonna close up soon. So why is all of this important? Okay, last slide. I hope we learned a lot today. I hope that you guys got what you came here for, and I simplify certain terms that are confusing to you guys. But why is this important to me, and why is this important to you? Okay, The main thing for me, I call that the diet myth, is these fad diets. So first of all, we talked about how important all the micronutrients are to the body. There's not one of the micronutrients that your body doesn't use. And a lot of fad diets promote the elimination of certain micronutrients, and those can be harmful. So, like I said, the reason for why is because all parts of your body uses those macronutrients. Now, there are certain conditions, right? Like if you are a diabetic, your body cannot process glucose or carbohydrate properly because the hormone insulin that uses to regulate your blood sugar, like we talked about, right? So blood sugar, if you have too much glucose in your blood, if you have too much sugar, it becomes an acid and it literally erodes your blood vessels, which can cause cardiovascular disease, right? So if you have a condition like that, a nutritionist will understand that your body has to take certain type of carbohydrates. Doesn't mean you have to eliminate them, but you do have to take certain type of, well, you do have to eliminate certain type of carbohydrates. Let me put it this way, right? Because your body can't digest these carb properly. Okay, so be careful about the fad diets out there, because what the fad diets do is they're going to make you lose weight, not because you took out a certain micronutrient, but because that energy, that baseline energy that you're supposed to provide your body every day so that all the cells can do their job, by taking away an element, is going to lower it. By lowering you're going to force your body to make energy out of fat. That's the reason why, but they can be dangerous. Okay. Okay. The Easternization macros having your body comes to the outfit. Okay. Another one is your all the macros are important. Not all macros are equal. Okay. You want to consume the healthiest version of those macros, which we'll cover later on in another webinar. And lastly, weight loss is the process of pushing your body to burn fat as a energy source. How you do that, like we talked about, you want to push your body to use fat as a way to burn or as a way to make energy. And how you do that is you decrease your everyday energy level from your food, you increase your workout, so you ask your body to demand more energy to operate, and that's going to force your body to use fat as a way to make energy. I believe that was the last slide. Any question? We did exactly 1 hour. Oh my God.
Literally 1 hour on the dot.
Listen, sorry. I was hoping to do 30 minutes, but I'll do 1 hour. Any question that you guys have? Any question on the live? Oh, thank you for tuning in.
This was good.
Thank you.
I mean, there was a lot of information for 30 minutes. I don't know. Yeah, this is a lot of information.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to break it down because the way I want to do it is like 30 minutes lecture, 30 minutes we all talk, you know? And when I start promoting it a little bit more, I hope you guys got what you need for it. This will also be on my YouTube. If you want more details or have a question, please reach out to me well, you have my number, girl, so you text me. But anybody via my email address. Via the business email address. I also have a weight loss book that is available for $14. If you liked what you learned today, it's gonna break that down even more. Explain to you exactly what the nutrients do for your body, provide you with a list of healthy nutrients that you can use, and help you to create your own plan, basically customize your own plan. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me turn off the live and the recording. Well, thank you, girlfriend. Wait, did I turn off the recording?
Yeah, you turned off the recording. Or you turned off the live.
Yeah. How do I turn off the recording? That's weird.
Wait a second. Is it off? Yeah, it's off.
The live is off, but for the YouTube, it's not. Let me see.
Okay.
Ooh, stop recording. Uh, yeah.